Most men stumble before they commence, not due to absent chances, but because their gait suggests defeat has already seized them. Their shoulders bear trepidation, their eyes hold uncertainty, their voices falter with excuses. Their demeanor whispers, "I pray this succeeds," and the world echoes their wavering. Yet the man who strides as if triumph is his cannot be overlooked, for authority respects bearing, prosperity honors essence, victory yields to conviction. The man who secures the prize is not the one who merely yearns for it. He is the one who moves, speaks, stands, and breathes as though the outcome is already his. He seeks no validation. He awaits no permission. His belief is so profound that his walk declares the result before evidence appears. This is not a sermon. This is not advice. This is a transformation, a challenge, a decree. You will either stride as if you've conquered, or you'll spend your life begging for crumbs from those who do. I will show you how to move so the universe adjusts to your presence, not through noise, but through inner dominion. For when you embody certainty, doors open before you knock. When you radiate faith, the result moves toward you, not by chance, but by law. Listen closely. You cannot fake this. The world discerns a man's self-doubt. Your frame betrays it. Your pace reveals it. Your tone exposes it. You may think it's concealed, but the law sees all. And the law does not reward desperation, it honors conviction. Your life reflects not what you hope for, but who you embody. Your essence is shown not in your claims, but in your gait, your voice, your habits, your discipline, your presence. If your stance carries hesitation, your harvest will linger. If your steps harbor fear, your future will mirror it. But the man who strides as if he's already victorious walks with the law as his ally. He carries no anxiety. He holds no panic. He does not ask, "Will this work?" He decrees it is done. And he navigates the day as proof of that decree. That is the man the world follows. That is the man fortune respects. That is the man who remains ready, not preparing to be ready. Let me share what I've learned. Confidence is not forged by applause. It is built through repetition, through clinging to the image of victory until your body aligns with it, until your habits reflect it, until your voice carries it, until you look in the mirror and see not a man who hopes, but one who expects. I've studied the greatest men to ever tread this earth, and without exception, each possessed a presence, a command, a weight. That weight did not come from their wealth. It came from their stride. Long before riches arrived, long before their names were known, they moved as if the victory was already theirs. Henry Ford walked as if every person would drive his creation. Andrew Carnegie spoke as if the steel empire was his before the first furnace glowed. Lincoln moved as if he'd united a divided nation, even as war raged. They strode like victors until the world believed them. So I ask you now, how do you stride? Do you move like a man who owns his aim, or one awaiting proof? Do you speak as if the outcome is secured, or glance back for reassurance? Do you advance as if the world must bend to your belief or adjust to its doubts? You do not rise by accident, you rise by alignment. Your essence, your posture, your thoughts, your pace, they must all proclaim the same truth, that you are certain, that you've shed hesitation, that you've abandoned the role of the man who tries and embraced the man who knows. From this moment, your days of timid steps are over. You will not tread lightly, you will not waver, you will stride as a man who holds the reward. You will speak with the voice of one who knows it is done, and your body, your routine, your entire being will become an unshakable signal that the outcome is beyond question. This is how we begin. Say aloud, I stride like I've already conquered. I move with the weight of a man who knows the result. Again, I stride like I've already conquered. I move with the weight of a man who knows the result. Let these words wash away every step taken in fear. Let them erase every trace of reluctance. Let them mark the dawn of a new man, a man who doesn't chase but commands, a man who doesn't plead but becomes. This is immensely powerful. This is the difference. This is the line. And once you cross it, you will never be mistaken for the man who doubts again. You cannot attract what you apologize for. You cannot hold what your posture denies. The man who slouches under insecurity, who shuffles instead of strides, who murmurs his purpose with doubt, that man will never be trailed by success. Not because success is unavailable, but because his signal says, I am not yet worthy to receive it. You do not gain wealth by seeking permission. You do not lead by softening your voice. You do not rise by appearing uncertain. You rise by commanding presence, not just with words, but with the full language of your being, your stride, your breath, your gaze, your tone, your consistency. Every part of you must agree with the man you claim to be. Many men declare they want riches, leadership, victory, but their movements betray doubt. Their shoulders sag under unseen failure. Their eyes seek approval. Their energy leaks contradiction. They think they project power, but their body remains in debt. Let me say this clearly. Every action, every step, every tone must reflect the man who has already claimed what he declared. Not someday, not when the world agrees, but now, before the reward, before the crowd, before the applause. You must stride as if it is yours, so convincingly that the world believes it too. This is not delusion, it is law. The subconscious does not birth reality until the man moves in full agreement with his belief. And the world does not yield to your desire until it reads the signal that you already possess what you seek. Your state shapes your signal. The world responds to who you are, not what you say. If you stride like a beggar, you will live as one. If you speak with uncertainty, you will be treated as such. But if you carry the weight of belief in your posture, your tone, your actions, if you move with the calm of certainty, you become magnetic. That is why Henry Ford succeeded. Not because he had approval, education, or inheritance, but because he moved as if the Model T was already in every man's hands. He carried his vision with conviction, and every gesture confirmed it was inevitable. He did not shuffle into rooms. He did not ask, "Can this be done?" He strode with the assumption that it was done. And so it became. The world mirrors the belief you carry in your body. This is the law. Your state creates your signal, and your signal shapes your future. If you are timid in bearing, the world will treat you as fragile. If you doubt in motion, life will delay its delivery. But if you stride like the outcome is sealed, if you stand like the reward is certain, if your body affirms your belief, then the law bends in your favor. Let me ask, what does your gait say about you? When you enter a room, does it hush or grow? Louder, when you voice your aim, do people lean in or doubt you before you finish? These are not judgments. They are measures, indicators, thermometers of the signal you send. You may read the right books, recite the right affirmations, craft the perfect plan, but if you stride like the result is uncertain, nothing moves, because the body reveals what the mind truly holds. From this day, train your body to stride ahead of your results. Train your tone to speak from ownership, not request. Train your energy to match the man you're becoming until you no longer try. You simply are. Say now, my belief strides ahead of my results. My posture leaves no room for doubt. Again, my belief strides ahead of my results. My posture leaves no room for doubt. Say it until your body shifts, your shoulders square, your eyes harden with calm. Your breath slows with conviction. Your next step carries more weight than your last words. You don't need to shout. You need to elevate your signal. You don't need to ask for more. You need to embody more. The world seeks not who wants it most, but who strides like they already have it. This is the shift. This is the law. This is where belief becomes evidence, hope becomes harvest, presence becomes Prophecy. Move now as the man who has won. Not someday, but now. You don't wait for clarity, for signs to align, for perfect confidence. Success isn't built that way. Results don't arrive that way. You rise by moving like you know where you're going, and the path appears, not before you start, but because you start. You are not rewarded for hesitation, honored for standing still, or blessed for waiting. You are blessed when you stride, act, move in faith before proof, before applause, before evidence, because that is when the law obeys you. Most men say, when I see it, I'll believe it. But the man who wins says, because I believe it, I'll see it. That is the difference. That is the law. That separates those who drift from those who dominate. Certainty is not the result of success, it is the cause. You don't walk boldly after the path clears. You walk boldly while it's still fog, and each step clears just enough for the next. Your problem isn't ignorance, lack of information, or not knowing what to do. It's hesitation, the habit of pausing when you should move, the addiction to second-guessing, the muscle memory of waiting for life's approval. But life doesn't approve, it responds. It bends to the man who strides before he knows, acts before he sees, declares, I belong here, before the room grants permission. Think of Edwin C. Barnes. He didn't wait for an invitation, craft, a resume, or seek the safest moment. He walked into Edison's office with only belief, because he stood like he already had the role, because his posture matched the result. The opportunity revealed itself. He didn't wait to know how. He moved, because he knew who. That's all it takes. The world doesn't seek your qualifications. It waits for your movement, your presence, your certainty, your decision to act as if you already carry what others still seek. Here's a truth most men never accept. Life clarifies only after you stride. You cannot think your way to clarity, sit still long enough to be ready, or plan your way to belief. You must stride. And if you knew the future was certain, how would you stride today? Would you move slowly, apologize, wait? No. You would march, you would command, you would act with peace, finality, fire. So do that. Stride as if it's done. Not because it's seen, but because you've chosen to believe before the world confirms. That is the man who receives, the man the law follows, the man the door opens for. Not because he knocked loudest, but because he walked as if it was already open. You don't need every step mapped. You need only the next one taken in conviction. You don't need to silence every doubt. You drown it in movement. You don't need to wait for peace. You stride as the man who has it, and peace meets you in motion. Say now, I don't wait for certainty. I stride as if I own it. My movement creates direction. Again, I don't wait for certainty. I stride as if I own it. My movement creates direction. Let these words end your habit of hesitation. Break the loop of delay. Replace what if I'm not ready with I have already begun. Your future belongs not to the man who prepares forever, but to the man who moves in faith. Stop rehearsing doubts. Stop pacing in circles of indecision. Take the step. Make the call. Start the sentence. Build the thing. Begin the journey, not when the path is clear, but because you've decided the destination is yours. You are not here to wait. You are here to stride. And when you stride long enough, far enough, steady enough, the way rises to meet you, not because it was visible, but because the law responds to motion, backed by belief. Most men speak from lack of conviction. They think explaining themselves makes them believed. They think dressing weakness in words hides the truth that they haven't decided. But the man who knows doesn't over-explain. He doesn't decorate his belief. He doesn't shout to be heard or argue to be understood. He speaks little, but each word lands with weight because it's backed by certainty. The winner's language is few words and firm steps. The man who speaks too much often moves too little. He makes promises his body cannot keep, declarations his habits cannot support. His words are loud, but his gait hesitates. So the world listens but does not trust. But the man who carries belief in his bones needs no convincing. His presence is proof. His tone is grounded. His silence speaks louder than another speech. He says, "I will," and moves. No delay, no discussion, no second invitation. Your speech must match your stride. Your words must align with your walk. If your mouth claims confidence but your tone betrays hesitation, you won't be trusted. If you say you'll rise, but your posture apologizes, you'll be overlooked. Speak less, but with finality. Let your steps do the rest. Words are weightless when posture contradicts them, but when your body and tone align with your declaration, even a few words become unshakable. Think of Abraham Lincoln. He didn't shout to command or embellish with endless rhetoric. When he spoke, the room turned, the nation listened, the world remembered. Why? His belief was unshakable, his words final. They weren't loud, they were certain. Lincoln didn't need to say much, because his presence carried truth, his speech carried law. His decisions were made long before he voiced them. That's why he was trusted, followed. He embodied certainty. You must live the same way. Don't talk for attention. Don't over-explain your goals. Speak only what you'll prove through action. Don't say soon when you mean someday. Don't say I'll try when you mean I'm scared. Your words must not betray your belief. Speak once because you believe always. Declare your aim, then repeat it silently in action. Let your schedule speak, your habits preach, your stride silence questions. The man who moves doesn't need to keep explaining. His steps are his message, his posture, his language, his results, his biography. The world follows, not because he persuaded, but because he became undeniable. Say now, my steps prove my beliefs. I speak once because I believe always. Again, my steps prove my beliefs. I speak once because I believe always. Let these words guard your tongue, govern your speech, remind you that talk is cheap without action, but sacred when backed by consistency. Let your words be few but final, sharp, not scattered, declaring what will be, not what might be. Speak like a man who holds the outcome, not one negotiating with doubt. And when you speak, move, before they ask for proof, before they doubt your aim, before the crowd forms, because it was done in your mind, and your steps deliver what was promised. That is the winner's language, not volume, but velocity. Not complexity, but clarity. Not show, but substance. Let others talk, announce, proclaim. You will build, return, rise, not through speech, but through structure. When you speak, say what's necessary, nothing more. The world will feel the difference, because your words will no longer be ideas. They will be instructions. Stride like you've won, and speak only when the step is in motion. To stride like you've won is not arrogance, delusion, or fantasy. It is alignment with spiritual law, obedience to creation's highest principle. What you believe, you become. What you assume, you express. What you express, you live. The man who waits to become before he moves never moves. The man who hesitates for evidence never sees it. Life doesn't follow proof, it follows posture. Life doesn't obey emotion, it obeys identity. This is the law of assumption, the law of identity. What you consistently believe and act upon becomes true, not because you forced it, but because you aligned with the reality you were meant to inhabit. You don't wait to become the man, you stride as him until the world agrees. The subconscious doesn't question, check facts, or wait to be convinced. It receives repetition, believes what is expressed often, felt deeply, declared with certainty. It accepts what is assumed and shapes your reality accordingly. Striding like you've won is not a mindset. It's a spiritual command. Each time, you embody the identity of the man who possesses the goal. You instruct your deepest self to remove contradiction, eliminate excuses, and align your external conditions with your inner assumption. This is how Andrew Carnegie moved. He didn't hope for success. He expected it. He assumed it so deeply that his partners walked like kings because his belief shaped their identity. His assumption wasn't fantasy, it was command. He spoke to men with no reputation, no experience, no background, as captains of industry. Why? He had decided they were worthy. And because he strode in that belief without hesitation, they rose to his standard. Assumption shapes not just your life, but those around you. The man who assumes strength is contagious. The man who assumes leadership is magnetic. The man who assumes abundance without apology creates an atmosphere of faith so potent that lack cannot survive in his presence. You must no longer ask, "When will I arrive?" Declare, "I have arrived in spirit, and the world will catch up." Don't say, "I'm trying to become him." Say, "I am him. I stride as him, breathe as him, speak as him, act as him. The results are coming because I'm ready to hold them." This is not self-deception, it's self-construction. Not fantasy, it's foundation. No man becomes what he doubts, maintains, what he apologizes for, or attracts what he refuses to embody. Say now, "I stride in the identity I've chosen. Assumption is my advantage." Again, "I stride in the identity I've chosen. Assumption is my advantage." Let these affirmations erase the belief that you must wait for permission. Eliminate traces of hesitation. Build a rhythm that speaks louder than results. The man who strides like he's won won't wait long before life rewards his posture. If you wake each morning and act as the man who has the results, the world organizes in your favor, not instantly, not always visibly, but inevitably. Identity isn't given, it's claimed. The law respects what is claimed with conviction. Speak power long enough, and power enters your tone. Move with belief long enough, and confidence becomes your default. Assume leadership daily, and soon others look to you, not because you asked, but because your assumption made it clear. But if you keep waiting to be ready, to feel perfect, for validation, you'll stand still while others pass. Not because you weren't worthy, but because you never assumed you were. The man who changes the world assumes his place in it before anyone offers it. He doesn't wait, beg, or whisper. He strides like the decision is made, the future sealed, the outcome certain, and eventually it is. That is the power of assumption, the law of identity, the man you are becoming. Let us stride forward. The E, man who hesitates, kills momentum, fractures power, leaks doubt into every room, sentence and delayed action. The world sees it. Even if his lips claim confidence, his timing betrays him. His energy whispers uncertainty. His movement exposes indecision, and because the world responds to what you are, not what you say, he holds no power. Indecision breaks your signal, weakens your command, teaches your subconscious to mistrust your voice, sends mixed messages to your environment. Life cannot reward contradiction. The man who cannot choose trains the world to withhold reward because no one knows what to follow when he hasn't decided where he stands. Understand this law. Inconsistency in movement creates contradiction in energy, and contradiction delays reward. You don't need perfection, you need decision. You don't need every answer, you need a direction declared and strode with presence. Most men stall not from lack of options, but from fear of ownership. They delay, fearing error. But wrong. Action with conviction holds more power than a correct idea delayed into nothing. John D. Rockefeller understood this. He didn't hesitate. He made decisions swiftly and stood by them. People followed, not because he was always right, but because he was definite. His decisions created atmosphere, gave clarity, built confidence in himself and others. Even when resisted, his choices carried the weight of finality. That weight bends environments. You must move like that, speak like that, Act like a man who has decided and needs no permission to stride in his chosen direction. Indecision isn't neutral, it's fear. It's the posture of a man who distrusts his vision, the mark of one who cannot command belief from himself or others. When a man chooses and moves as if the outcome is his, the world aligns to that authority. Your aim may evolve, your path may adjust, but if you move with conviction, your signal cannot be ignored. That's what the world respects. Not noise, not delay, but direction. Your direction is your decision. If you're unsure, the world waits. If you waver, so will your reward. But if you move clearly, daily, powerfully, results pursue you, not because you force them, but because certainty is magnetic. Definite movement is the language of belief. How many rewards have you delayed by standing still? How many seasons passed because you waited to feel ready? How many opportunities stood before you, waiting for your choice, only to vanish when your silence confirmed doubt? That is the cost of indecision. Not just delay, but loss. Not just waiting, but decay. You weren't meant to live paused, to rehearse every outcome before moving. You were created to stride by principle, not sight. To act from belief, not need for confirmation. Decide, not emotionally, not impulsively, but with law in your voice, certainty in your spine. Say now, I move as if I've decided. My confidence is born in my speed. Again, I move as if I've decided. My confidence is born in my speed. Let these train your subconscious to obey direction, not delay, to break overthinking and replace it with definite action. When your pace matches your purpose, results no longer flee, they come quickly. The man who moves decisively leaves no room for doubt, and doubt is the only barrier to your reward. From this day, don't stride halfway, speak with hesitation, plan without action, or touch your purpose without following through. Choose, move, finish. That is the new pattern, the new man. The world hears you before you speak, before your mouth forms words, before your hands move with intent, your presence speaks. Faith has a sound, so does fear. The man who disciplines his tone and posture to speak only belief becomes unshakable. You're not followed because you know more. You're followed because your vibration is consistent. You're not trusted because you say the right thing. You're trusted because your presence matches your soul's certainty. You can say, I believe, but if your breath is shallow, shoulders slumped, tone shaky, the world hears your fear, not your words. Faith isn't silence, it's sound. Faith doesn't ask permission, stutter, or apologize. It carries a tone of completion, speaks as if the result is possessed, strides as if victory is behind every step, breathes with ease because the answer is coming. But fear speaks too. It trembles in quiet voices, asks 5 times what faith declares. Once repeats questions because it distrusts its power. Fear leaks through small talk, excuses, indecision, over-explaining. It's not just in your head, it's in your energy, timing, posture. The world knows the difference. Even children sense it, even strangers feel it. We respond not to logic, but to spirit. Here's what most men never grasp. You create results with your tone alone. Not loudness, but frequency. Not volume, but certainty. The world bends for the man who strides with peace while others panic, breathes slowly when others rush, whose being says it's done before evidence appears. You must stride, speak, breathe like a man who carries peace. Not anxiety, clarity, not chaos. That is the man the law of success obeys. Not the loudest, busiest, or most emotional, but the most rooted. Look at Thomas Edison. He didn't invent the light bulb by accident, wait for approval, or speak like a man guessing. He declared the outcome before the result, spoke of his invention as if it existed. Because he moved with conviction, others believed him. He shaped his team with tone, investors with certainty, outcomes with repetition. He said it would be, and it became. Not because it was guaranteed, but because he sounded like it was. Be that man. Practice carrying faith in your speech, not with performance but with peace. Speak your aim not as a wish, but as a decree. When you enter a room, your presence shouldn't shout. It should settle, bring order, carry silence. Not from uncertainty, but from security. Sound like the outcome is yours. Speak with calm that comes from knowing. Move with a pace that belongs to men done rushing. Carry yourself with the tone of one who's walked this path 1,000 times, even if it's new, because that tone, that vibration, that rhythm builds your life. Say now, faith strides before me. I silence fear by how I move. Again, faith strides before me. I silence fear by how I move. Let these shape your breath, slow your speech, teach your body what it feels to carry divine expectation. If your presence carries faith, you won't need to convince anyone. They'll feel it, adjust, obey your rhythm, not by force, but because your certainty leaves no room for doubt. If fear rises, let your body answer. Don't argue with fear, beg it to leave. Stride with command, speak with finality, stand with alignment. Fear loses footing, not because it's gone, but because you no longer carry the tone it needs to thrive. This isn't motivation, it's frequency. The man who disciplines his tone, stride, breath to carry only belief, only peace, only order, becomes a living law. No one shakes the man who moves like his answer is done. No one ignores the man whose voice confirms his vision before it appears. No one questions the man who strides in rhythm with his outcome because he has nothing to prove. He already has it. Let this be the sound you carry. Let it enter your mornings, lead your actions, remove every ounce of fear, not through emotion, but through spiritual silence. You don't need more words, you need alignment. Move as if the answer is here, and it will be. To stride like you've won is not a moment, a mindset you visit, or a speech that charges you briefly. It's a ritual, a discipline, a spiritual sequence repeated until it becomes who you are, until the lines between action and identity dissolve, until you no longer remind yourself you're the winner, you live it. Most men try power once and expect permanence. They declare a new self, act bold for a day, then drift. Why? They never rehearsed identity until it replaced the old one. They thought motivation was enough. But motivation is a flame without fuel. It flashes, then dies. Identity is a fire that feeds itself, programmed into your structure. You must build ritual, not random effort, not emotional peaks. Daily practice of who you are until you forget you were anyone else. Identity isn't a declaration. It's the residue of repetition, trained, layered, enforced until the former self can't breathe. The man who wins doesn't think about winning. He no longer asks, "Am I him?" He strides, acts, moves in line with belief, so anchored, so repeated, that the world and he no longer question who he is. Build it deliberately, like a craftsman builds a monument. Not with hurry, but precision. Not with passion, but pattern. Here are your 3 anchors, your daily law, your training ground. Do not skip, deviate, or forget. First, morning. Stride in purpose. Before the world touches you, touch the man you've chosen to be. Before updates, noise, or responsibility, rise into presence. Breathe into posture. Speak your aim aloud. Not whispered, declared. Stand tall, shoulders back, eyes focused. Breathe. Slow, stride with it even briefly. Let your feet remember, your nervous system adjust, your mind say, "He is here." Act out your identity before the day challenges it. Train your power in peace so it holds in pressure. Second, midday. Realign. Posture with affirmation. At the peak of activity, you'll forget. Chaos distracts, doubt whispers. Pause, even briefly. Stand again, check your stride, breathe again. Say the truth aloud or whisper if you must. I am no longer becoming, I have become. Rehearse the identity until you never question it. override the old self, not by force, but by rhythm. Return to the identity each time it tries to leave, and it stays longer until it never leaves. Third, evening. Return to stillness. Speak your aim. Visualize possession. Before sleep, close the day with command. Don't drift. Reclaim your image. Rehearse it. Not as coming, but done. Speak with authority. Picture it. Feel it. Not as a dream, but a memory you're stepping into. Let your subconscious hold it while your conscious rests. The subconscious builds what you consistently submit. Identity is built in sleep if planted in repetition. Morning frames the man, midday corrects him, evening engraves him. Follow it. Don't rush or neglect it. You're not waiting to become, you're becoming. The faster you move in repetition, the faster you forget you were anything else. Say, I am no longer becoming, I have become. I rehearse the identity until I never question it. These aren't declarations, they're installations, writing the software of your future, erasing the programming of the man who hesitated, begged, doubted. Each time you speak, move, return as the new man, you make it harder for the old to rise. Eventually, the winner is the only voice, image, presence left. When you no longer practice the role, but live it without thought, you've crossed the line. Identity takes over. Habits no longer need willpower, they're nature. The winner doesn't tell himself he's winning, he strides like it. Let this be your aim, your rhythm, your structure, until it obeys you. Stride into the next day, not with effort, but rhythm. The man who strides like he's won cannot be denied. Not because he demands, argues, pleads, or proves, but because he's decided he is the man who owns the outcome. His posture, tone, timing, movement, habits, all confirm it. They speak one word: certainty. Understand what few learn. Life doesn't respond to need, it responds to assumption. It doesn't give what you desire, it gives what you embody. If you stride like the outcome is uncertain, life treats it so. If you speak like the result is debatable, life negotiates. But when you stride like it's done, carry completion's vibration, align your being with the man you declared, the result must appear. This isn't arrogance or fantasy, it's law, the law governing success, identity, wealth, power. Embody the end before it appears. Speak from it, stride from it, move from it, and the world catches up. The man who doesn't embody his desired outcome is ruled by the one who does. It doesn't matter who's smarter or more talented, only who moves like he belongs. The universe yields to the man whose inner belief, outer posture, daily repetition match the life he commands. When his thoughts, breath, actions, schedule declare the same, the world, seeing no contradiction, must respond. If you wonder why you haven't received what you want, it's not hidden or because you're unworthy. It's because you haven't fully embodied the result. You speak it on Mondays, believe when inspired, but stride like the outcome is up for vote. If you had already won, how would you stride today? Would you look down, overthink, delay, negotiate your value, speak softly where you should declare, entertain distractions that don't serve the man you've become? No. You'd move with authority, act with peace, speak with clarity. You'd no longer test your power, you'd live it. That must happen now. If you don't stride like you've won, life waits for you to believe first. It's not your potential that's missing, it's your posture. Posture isn't fixed by theory, it's fixed by decision backed by repetition. Wrap every law into one command. Stride like the man who owns the result. Not when others approve, not when the outcome is visible, but now, before the room claps, before the contract lands, before the body transforms, before the money arrives. That stride, that rhythm, that presence creates the future, not reacts to it. The man who strides like he's arrived owns rooms, not by noise, but alignment. He leads nations, not by force, but because men feel safer in his rhythm than their doubt. He builds empires, not by trying harder, but because every part of him agrees with the vision he set long before the bricks were laid. This man doesn't change under pressure because he was already that man in private. He doesn't flinch when critics speak. His belief was never for sale. He doesn't apologize when opportunity arrives. He knew it would. This is now you. This is the standard. Say now, I stride as the man who owns the result. The world moves for the man who does not doubt. Again, I stride as the man who owns the result. The world moves for the man who does not doubt. Let these be your final instructions, walking with you, breathing through you, correcting you when your spine softens, your voice trembles, your rhythm falters. They remind you you're not building to become. You're walking because you are. You're no longer the man who wishes, waits, or practices power only in private. You are the man who owns the result. The more you stride in that, the faster. The world yields, not because you pushed, but because you left it no choice. Step forward and let every step carry your name before you speak it.